Hey, it's JP, and this time we are going to go over 3 ways to modify the squat based on what you want to achieve. I thought this would be interesting to go over to help you optimize the way you train to improve the way you run. Now, the really cool thing about the body is that we are not restricted to one way to move. This might be one of the reasons why we have so many joints in the body. This increases the amount of movement options we have. And this is a good thing. When trying to do a certain action, the brain and body will typically choose the most practical way to move to do it based on yourself and the environment around you. Now, with this in mind, based on what our intentions and goals are, we can modify the way we do the squat to achieve the desired result or outcome. So let's go over 3 ways you can modify the squat pattern and shape it based on your needs. Let's start by looking at the feet. The way we shift our weight in the feet can distribute forces on the leg differently. By shifting your weight closer to the toes, this distributes forces in a way to make the quads work harder and make the glutes or hip region work less. And if you shift more toward the heels, you'll start biasing loads on the glutes instead. For example, if my intention is to really force the quads to work harder, I may have the athlete or runner shift the weight more toward the front of the foot. Next, let's go over knee placement. This involves how far the knees shift forward or back. Now, this is where it gets a bit more controversial. Some people tend to think that the knees going over the toes is bad. This seems to be blindly followed, and people never really think or challenge that thought process. So let's dive a little deeper here. This notion most likely originated from people squatting while having knee pain or more so increased irritability in the knees. When they brought the knees forward, they felt pain in the area. Then, when they did not do that and brought the hips back, it hurt less. Therefore, the assumption that probably came out of that was that your knees going over your toes is bad, which is simply not the case. This is just a case of force distribution. The farther forward the knees go, the more loads that are distributed into the knees and less on the hips, and vice versa. Nothing has shown that simply squatting with your knees over your toes causes harm. Most of the time, barring injury or other special conditions, the knees just don't tolerate as much force in the area at the moment. I say at the moment because another cool thing about the body is that it can adapt. This is why resistive training or strength training works. Strengthening basically involves trying to lift heavier and heavier weights over time, and the muscles adapt to that to get stronger. A similar concept can be applied here. If my intention is to help the person build tolerance to loading through the knees to better prepare for the demands of running, a possible way to do this is to start bringing the knees more forward as tolerated during the squat. At the same token, for those who have significant irritability in the knees, keeping the knees from coming forward may help them accomplish the task if squatting with minimal discomfort. That ended up being a bit of a rant, but I hope that made more sense to you guys. Anyway, a third thing we can look at is the torso. The more upright it is, the more you bias the quads. If you lean forward, you'll begin to distribute loads more into the glutes than knees. Even though this is about squats, I'll show you some through step-up variations I've recorded to help you understand this better. When this person's torso is upright as shown, this makes the body work in a way where the quads have to work harder, which is what I'm looking for. Now, if I wanted to use a step up, but wanted to work more on the glutes or hip region, I'd have the person lean forward like so. This makes the body engage more of the glutes rather than the quads. I hope that illustration made it a bit more understandable. And those are 3 ways you can modify the squat. And as you just saw with that last tip, these concepts are not restricted to just a squat. They can be applied in a number of other exercises as well. I hope you guys found this one useful in optimizing your training routine based on what you need. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well as any questions you may have. And as always, thank you for watching.